rescuing some horses. Let me turn the table now to Lohan. Can you give me perspective on the ongoing show? Does the show resemble your original vision? If not, how is it different from the original starting concept?
Well, from the vision point of view, it's the same show.
Okay.
I wrote the script about 5 years, the first script about 5 years before the show got started.
Okay.
And once in a while I go back to that script and it's the same idea behind. Of course, the show evolved. We started with 29 horses. The special effects now we have water, I mean, leaves falling, a lot more acrobatic, and we traveling with 64 horses, so that's a big change. So you get to see much more horses on stage. We also replaced most of the horses that were there at the beginning. They toured for 5 years, and most of them have been retired, or we bring them back to the farm in Canada for a rest, and then they'll come back. Out of the 64 horses, like today, only 8 horses have been there from the beginning. And the show itself, if you had seen the show when we first started it in 2003, you would recognize them less than 50%. You'll recognize the fundamentals, but all the rest is just, you know, involved. We keep changing the show. We keep, you know, in every city we have a discussion, and you know, we start to say, oh, this we can do this, and Benjamin bring idea and I bring idea, and we exchange and we find new ways to do stuff, and which is also very good for the performers and the horses, because it keeps everybody awake. It's not a routine that you do and overdo, and that's the way we like it. That's why we're doing that. We involve, and we want to pretend that we're the best touring show in the world. We're just, you know, fighting to get that official title one day.
I know you are. What brought you together with Frédéric and Magali? I know the story that you had met them in the south of France, and you saw the concept of dressage, and you were interested that you saw how they did everything on dressage without the bit, which in America it's pretty hard to do dressage without the bit and, you know, proper training. And how did that come together?
Well, that's not exactly what happened. Okay. Like, I had the idea, and I was looking for artists. I've been traveling, and I was also trying to find my way throughout horse world, because I didn't know nothing about horses. And one day, I had a video, and there were Frédéric and Magali performing. And what impressed me the most in that video is the work that Frédéric was doing at Liberty. At that time, my script, my show had no end. I didn't know how to end the show. My script was based on the history of the relationship between human and horses. But I came to a point where, I mean, we don't need horses anymore, because we replace them with the horsepower, with the machine. And, you know, I started to ask questions. Why is the purpose of horses? What are we going to do with them, and who they are? And I was very impressed by the work of Frédéric, the way he was working totally free. You know, I met him in the park, and I happened to be in his house the day after. And he said, he told me, he said, you want to see horses? I said, of course, I'd like to see you working with horses. I was, you know, expecting a guy going to a ring and going to doing whips and traditional circus stuff. But instead he went to run with 3 stallions in the field. And I say, oh, this is, you know, when I see that, I say, oh my God, this is the end of my show. This is the story I have to tell is, you know, for me, horses represent nature. They are coming from nature, and we have to respect them totally, and we have to hear what they have to say, and we have to become friends with them back again. And so that's how I build. About the dressage with no bits, at that time I've seen, about the same period, I've seen Magali riding. She was a beautiful rider, but she had that the bit and everything. And I challenge her. I say, you know, one day you should try to ride without bits. And she started to ride with just the collar. And she was so bound with her horses. At that time she was riding a horse called Dao, very fabulous horse. And she started to work with the collar only. And that was also part of what I was hoping, that coming back from dressage, going to more complicity, more respect, more relationship. And that's how we built the, you know, finally did the old show. It's about freedom.
What type of music do you find works best with the horse's movement? And did you try any music that you love that just didn't fit with the horses?
Not really. That's not the way it did work. Every part of the show has a different inspiration, and sometimes with the composer, which is a very talented guy, sometimes, you know, we gave him one word. Say, okay, let's start to work with this. And it's a guy who does most of his work with movie. He's a music writer for movie. So he never showed up at the rehearsal. We always send him video, and he was preferring looking at videos and trying to bring music to the image. So we kind of, you know, sometimes was one word, other time was making listen to something. Sometimes was a discussion we had. Sometimes was what he was looking at from the rehearsal, and he started to build the music that way. So the music has, it's like the show, it has no specific time. But you get some feeling here and there. Sometimes you get, you know, more modern. Sometimes you get Spanish. At one other time you get classical music. It's all blend, and it become, you know, Cavalia music. Has its own personality.
And I know people have covered this. What attracted you to add horses to the human element versus any other animal, like a cat, a dog?
Well, I didn't know nothing about horses, except one day I created a show in Canada that required one horse as an extra. And there was, in this specific show, there was 120 something performers and one horse. And when the horse was coming on stage, just crossing the stage, I realized that the audience were following the horse, not looking at the performers. So I just started to get attracted by the aesthetic of the horse at first. Like the audience, you know, we're all attracted by those animals. But when you put those animals on stage, they're, you know, many times bigger than just a performer. And you don't need to do makeup, you don't need to do costumes. I mean, you just bring a bare horse and everybody's like, wow, this is amazing. And so the aesthetic attracted me. And then I started to find out who they were. Today I know more because, you know, guys like Benjamin and Frédéric and Magali, I learn a lot, and I think they're the most beautiful living animal on earth, and they're noble, and they're very dedicated. I mean, they are ready to do whatever you want if you have that respect. If you establish a good relationship, they'll do more than what you ask from them. And then that's fabulous. I think they're the greatest performer. Actually, I say often to every artist who come on stage, you're not the star. It's all about the horses. The applause is not for you, it's for the horses, because what you do with them. And it's a different approach. It's not, you know, when you see a circus, the circus people, it's all about the trainer. How, you know, good he is to make the animal obey. This is not here. Here it's all about the horses, how good they are and how good we can be following them.
Okay, the most important question everyone's been asking me, when is the next tour and what city? What's the plan?
Well, I hope I could tell.
Okay.
We're building the tour one city at a time.
Okay.
And we wait to see how it goes in the first city to decide when is the opening of the next city.
Okay.
So we're just, and that's the way we are.
Come on, just give us a little hint.
That's the way we are. I can't tell you.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, we have not confirmed.
Okay.
And that's always the way it has been. And it's, at first, everybody, even in touring company, were very insecure, saying, oh my God, you know, this is the biggest touring show in the world, and we don't know where we go next. I said, no, we don't know. I'm working on it. We are, I mean, as a company, working on it. But it always worked that way, and when we're doing well. So, you know, for instance, I thought Atlanta was going to be 5 weeks. maybe 6. You know, it's a big city, it's a big community, and we ended doing 10 weeks.
Wow.
And if I had put on sale Miami before I knew that Atlanta was going to be successful, we would have just leave after 5-6 weeks. Then where we could have stayed for 10 weeks. So that's the way we did.
All right.
So
well,
no answer.
all right. Well, I guess we'll just be waiting in suspense then. Well, I guess this is the end of our interview. Normand, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Benjamin, thank you so much. And this has been another episode of Horse and Pony News in conjunction with Valentina's Equine News. Thank you.